Hello everyone, my name is Maria Semagaña and I will be presenting on the McKinney Vento Act for the PPS 544 Law and Ethics class. So the definition of homeless. The McKinney Vento defines homeless children and youth as individuals who lack a regular, fixed, and adequate nighttime residence. Fixed residence is defined as one that is stationary, permanent, and not subject to change. A regular residence is one that is used on a normal, standard, and consistent basis. And an adequate residence is one that is sufficient for meeting the physical and psychological needs, usually met in a home environment. So children and youth identified homeless are those that are sharing housing of others due to the loss of housing and economic hardship, those living in motels, trailer parks, shelters, and hotels. Children and youth whose primary nighttime residence is a public or private place that's not designed for or is ordinarily used for sleeping accommodations for humans. For those that are living in cars, abandoned buildings, and public places like parks, substandard housing, bus or train stations, or similar settings. And also the children and youth identified homeless are those migrant children living in these similar situations mentioned earlier. The McKinney Vento Act was originally authorized in 1987 and most recently reauthorized in December 2015 by the Every Student Succeeds Act. The McKinney Vento Homeless Assistance Act is a federal legislation that ensures the educational rights and protection of children and youth experiencing homelessness. This act requires all local educational agencies to ensure that homeless students have access to the same free and appropriate public education, including public preschools as provided to other children and youths. The McKinney Vento Act defines LEAs as public school districts, direct funded and locally funded charter schools, and county office of education. This act also authorizes the funding for the federal education for homeless children and youth programs. So one of the main duties of the local education agencies is to assign a liaison. The liaison for children and youth is for those that are experiencing homelessness. And they require these liaisons to ensure that homeless children and youths are identified by school personnel and through coordination and other entities and agencies. The purpose of the identification is to offer appropriate services to the family, child, or youth. They're also responsible to ensure that children and youth experiencing homelessness enroll in and have a full and fair opportunity to succeed in school. These students are entitled to immediate enrollment in any, and I say any, public school that students living in and are eligible to attend, even if they're not in the attendance area. And all students are eligible to attend even if they are missing the enrollment deadlines during the time they were homeless, or even if they don't have the required documentation such as previous school records like immunizations, physical health records, obviously proof of residency or guardianship. Students must be able to enroll and receive the same education as any other student that is attending the school. The liaison must ensure that homeless families, children, and youth receive not only educational services that they are eligible for, but also referrals to healthcare, dental, mental health, and other appropriate services. They must inform parents and the guardians of their educational and other related opportunities available for them. They must make sure this information is public and that all the educational rights are also made public. They must ensure that any disputes that they come across regarding the enrollment are mediated. And also families and students and youth that are identified homeless, the liaison must provide the transportation that is required for these students to attend the school of their choice. And talking about transportation, the McKinney Vento Act requires school districts to provide transportation for students experiencing homelessness in 3 different situations. First, school districts must provide transportation to the school of origin upon the request of the parent or guardian, or in the case of an unaccompanied youth, upon the request of the liaison. So second, for other transportation that is opposed to the school of origin, the McKinney Vento requires districts to provide transportation comparable to that provided to housed students. And finally, school districts must eliminate any barriers to enrollment, retention, or transportation to these homeless students. The unaccompanied homeless youth. This youth is defined as a child or youth who meets the McKinney Vento definition, but does not have physically or is not in physical custody of a parent or a guardian. There is no age range for an unaccompanied youth, and the liaison must help unaccompanied youth choose a school and enroll immediately. They must give the students' wishes a priority and give the student their appeal rights information. I have a video, it's a YouTube video on the perfect example of how the McKinney Vento supports the unaccompanied youth that is identified homeless. So go ahead and click play, and then you will get to watch the video that I have to share with you. So some statistics. I went to the National Center for Homeless Education website and was able to get some information, some numbers on homeless students enrolled in California public education schools in the past few years. And as you can see, in 2014 to 2015, the number of enrolled and identified homeless students was 235,983. The following year, 2015-16, it went up to 246,296. In the year 2016-2017, the amount of homeless students enrolled in public education in California was 262,935. The number of homeless students enrolled in Ventura County public education schools, I wanted to put that information in there because I live in Ventura County and service our student population here. And I've seen a lot more of the transient living, the homeless population in our communities. And I do see a rise in numbers. In the year 2015-2016, the number of students enrolled in public education and identified homeless was 4,017 students. In 2016-2017, it rose to 4,400, and this past school year, 2017-2018, the number went up to 5,508 students. I was able to get this information from the Ventura County Office of Education, and the information given to them was from the California Department of Education. Because of the need for support, I researched the community services available to our homeless population in Ventura County, and there is a multitude of agencies providing services. But for the purpose of this presentation, I felt that it was important for me to just give you information on the transitional housing centers. And we have a City Center in Ventura, the Kingdom Center in Oxnard, the Lighthouse Family Center in Oxnard, Rain Transitional Living in Camarillo, the Salvation Army in Ventura, Tender Life Maternity Home, Turning Point Countywide Supported Housing, and there's one in Oxnard and one in Ventura. There's also Project Understanding Transitional Housing in Oxnard, Lutheran Social Services in Port Hueneme, Stoll House in Thousand Oaks, Alice's House in Ventura, and Stepping Stone House in Camarillo. As I researched the different resources, there is, again, like I said earlier, a multitude of resources in our community for homeless population that include mental health, medical, just everything that you can think of to help this community, transition from being homeless to finding a consistent form of living. So I hope this is helpful to you. I hope that if you have anybody that you can refer to these agencies, that this is helpful. And now I have the references. I was able to get a lot of information from our Ventura County Office of Education website, the State Department of Education the California Department of Education. I actually went on their website, got a lot of information, and also spoke to people there regarding the statistics. And then obviously YouTube is always very, very helpful. I hope this presentation was useful, and see you soon.